Hey, what's up, PlusUltraFam? It is me, PlusUltraman, and welcome back to the third PlusUltraPodcast. Jumping right in with our PlusUltraFam shoutouts, we have Sebastian Benitez, I think that's how you would say that, Lone Wolf McQuaid, Xavier Triggs, Quentin Sands, Remote Rewind, Evan Hardwick, Cyrourke, Cameron Johnson Law, and the Anime Noob. As for our interesting comments, we first have Doug, who says, let's try to get Plus Ultraman to 23,000 as a thank you for providing us with this amazing content. And thanks so much for that, Doug. The current goal for the channel is to reach 25,000 subscribers by August 25th of 2019. That will be what I call the official anniversary of the Plus Ultraman channel, and I really want to be at a 250,000 subs by that point. We're actually not too far off right now, and I do think it is very, very possible. So if you guys don't mind sharing, liking the videos, and maybe telling your friends about the channel, I really do appreciate that. Lightro Storm comments, what is your favorite series to do what ifs on and why? Currently, it is the Jiraiya adapted Naruto series, and a bunch of people are probably going to bark at me for that one, because like, oh, why haven't you updated it yet? I spent a lot of time trying to figure out where I was going to take that series, and now that I do have a pretty solid route for the next arc, I'm very excited for how hype you guys are going to be. I'm very excited for the implications it's going to make. It's going to make a very major change in the Naruto timeline and the Naruto story in general, and I'm very excited to create a completely alternate timeline from the canon. Our last interesting comment actually comes from Knutty Entertainment, who he did comment this on the first PlusUltraPodcast, but unfortunately I missed that one, and it was actually a very cool question I kind of wanted to answer. Basically, he asked, could you give me any advice on how to make my what ifs better? You make the best what ifs and inspired me to make my own, which really touched my heart in a way. I'm always looking to improve my craft, which is something I really, kind of feel, because that's kind of what I do. I watch what ifs almost constantly, just about of every genre from multiple people, whether it be super big channels or super small channels, just see what their ideas are, what they might do that I don't do, and that helps me improve. So I understand where he's coming from with this. So in preparation for this question, I actually did go to Nutty's channel and watch one of his what ifs. The funny thing is, though, I was so enthralled by the what if that was what if Naruto joined Orochimaru that I actually watched the entire series of this, and luckily enough for me, he updated it the same day that I was watching this series. So in a kind of an impromptu review of it, not to spoil anything for the actual fans who might want to go see it, because I will be linking this video in the description. My only advice to you, Nutty, is be as creative as you can be. Try and make an alternate timeline that isn't just, okay, Naruto, but something has changed. Do Naruto, but the entire timeline has changed. This is the same reason why I don't like to do what ifs that have very small implications, such as what if Goku was a girl. I really don't think that what if has huge implications for the story. Some more creative writers might be able to make it have huge implications for the story, but I feel like if you were to do something such as what you did, and again, I'm not trying to spoil anything for those who haven't seen this what if yet, if you were to do a story that, say, it sets events of the timeline to happen at the same time of a canonical event, you don't have to revisit that canonical event. That canonical event can take place in a different way, somewhere off screen, and that way, that event happens in a different way. There's nothing wrong with doing the timeline differently than canon does, because it is a what if, it is an alternate timeline, and therefore things should not happen the same way. This is a very big lesson I had to learn myself, and I learned it from a very good comment I got on my What If Master Shin Trained Goku, which is turned into What If Master Shin Turned Good series. I don't know this comment verbatim. The person was basically saying, I was really enjoying this series through part 1 and most of part 2, but then you basically hit the exact same beats as the original Dragon Ball story, and you kind of lost me. I feel like a what if should, be a different story than canon. And at the time of hearing that, that really pissed me off, because I felt like he just didn't like the story. That is not what that commenter was saying. That commenter was saying, you have a talent, you had a good premise and a good story, but you messed it up by trying to play it safe. Don't try and play it safe. Be creative and have fun. That is the best advice I can give to you, Nutty, and any what if makers that want to get into the business or the genre, or whatever you want to call it. So there you go. I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of like channel reviews or anything. That's not really what this was. I kind of owed Nutty that type of in-depth review, because he commented this last podcast, and I'm very, very grateful to anybody who is giving the podcast a chance on the channel. So that's kind of why I did this. And now moving into our what ifs. Full disclosure, I did see all the My Hero what ifs here. I'm just not really in the mood to do a ton of My Hero Academia what ifs Right now, I'd rather do a lot of Dragon Ball ones. I actually did go to my moderators in the Discord server and ask, like, hey, would you guys actually mind commenting some Dragon Ball What Ifs? Just so I can, kind of wet my whistle with those. I do like to keep a pretty steady balance of this stuff because I do get kind of bored with one series. Just because my name is Plus Ultraman does not mean I'm a My Hero Academia channel. I love My Hero Academia. It's a really great series. I like the term Plus Ultra because it means to go above and beyond things, and that's just a really cool motto to me. I am a Shonen Jump channel. I am not a channel that is devoted to one series. That said, I'm going to be focused on mostly Dragon Ball, Naruto, My Hero, possibly One Piece at some point in time in the story, or some point in time down the line, but that is very, very far down the line, possibly like only when I get caught up with the One Piece manga. Anyway, back to the What If, though. Anyway, MK Gaming asks, what if Kid Goku went Super Saiyan? This is a very good what if. That said, it has been done so many times before and by a lot of very talented what if makers, so I want to do it a lot differently than how they would usually do it. Most people decide to put this event as happening after the death of Krillin in the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. So for the sake of a change, let's have this happen after the death of Bora. This is one of the most visceral moments in the original Dragon Ball series, and one of the first deaths that Goku is actually present and conscious for. After Tao does the evil deed, an amazing power awakens in his juvenile opponent, and golden light surrounds him as his hair stands on end and he roars in rage. I generally put this Goku in a range of around 35 to around the low 40s, like 44 or something like that at this time, and Tao around 100 or 103 or something like that. But with this ancient power awoken in Goku, his power erupts to over 17 times that. Though not aimed to kill Tao, Goku's anger blinds and spurs him on as he attacks, and he attacks the mercenary, landing a punch that tears the man's head off, his spine following behind fully intact due to the sheer speed and force of the blow. This would be one of those very rare and gory moments in Dragon Ball. This act done, I think a side effect rears its ugly head. I do not think Goku's body is prepared to exert this kind of power. Yes, Goten becomes a Super Saiyan at an age much younger than Goku is now, but he is born with the potential to become a Super Saiyan, while Goku is not. He must earn it. The muscles and bones in his body are reduced to dust and mush, and he passes out on the edge of death himself. Still mourning the death of his father, Upa refuses to let his hero die here, and steps up to the plate. As difficult as it may seem, he attempts to climb Korin's tower and receive help from the Cat Master. With Goku strapped to his back, he begins his climb. Though his father was unable to climb Korin's tower, I think Upa, through pure determination, is able to climb up a very impressive amount, before exhaustion finally sets in. Remember, he is carrying somebody bigger and heavier than him while climbing, so this is a very good workout. Upa falls, but in a last-ditch effort, he calls out to Goku's magical cloud, and miraculously, the Nimbus does listen to him, saving them both and carrying them up to the top of Korin's tower. There, they meet with Korin, and Upa begs for the Master's help. Korin relents and offers them both a senzu bean. I think this awards Goku a massive Zenkai boost, just from how destroyed his body was, and the fact that he's just awoken this new power. He won't have full control over it, but it is there for the taking. He is now sitting at a power level over 200 at the very least. Upa also gains some strength just from climbing the tower while weighted, and so Korin kicks them both off, telling them to actually climb this time. I think Upa joins Goku in climbing the tower again, and the two train with the Master, together making Upa the youngest and most powerful human on Earth, from how powerful Goku is alone. From here, the Red Ribbon Army is defeated by both Goku and Upa, and Bora and Upa will now join the Z-Fighters, making them more powerful through the domino effect of having these two new strong human warriors and the much stronger Goku with this ferocious transformation. Lone Wolf asks what if Vegeta was sent to Earth with Goku, but this may become a main series on the channel later, so stay tuned for that. Joseph Andrews asks, what if Goku learned to transform like Oolong? I think this would happen when the group is captured by the Pilaf gang. Puar tries to become a crowbar so that the group can pry the bricks of the prison away, but his realistic strength is not enough to allow him to do so. Goku, liking this idea, tells Puar to teach him, and the cat does comply reluctantly, finding it useless. This keeps Goku busy and avoids him, or lets him avoid looking at the moon in the meantime. I believe if Goku can learn the Kamehameha after seeing it once, he can figure this out at some point. He transforms into a massive mallet and has Yamcha wield him, allowing them to break out of the jail. Though Goku likely would see the moon afterwards and transform, making the arc end pretty much as it did in canon. I think Goku wouldn't use the transformation for too many fights. It'd probably be a very sneaky and tricky technique that he doesn't rely on too much. You might see it in some more fan servicey moments, like maybe in the Tournament of Power when he wants to get the jump on an opponent or something, which could be pretty cool. That said, if Oolong or Puar were to train as martial artists and become Z fighters, I believe they would incorporate the transformation technique as one of their mainstays in their arsenal. One of the comments has explored this idea, but I wanted to get Joseph's out of the way first because they are very similar. He didn't get his what if done the first go around, so please recommend, please recomment the what if Oolong was a martial artist, I think what it was, or what if Puar, it was one of them. But please recomment that and I will try and get to that either next week or sometime down the line. In fact, that one is so interesting to me, that might become a what if one shot sometime. So look out for that. Sheridan Road asks, and he's actually doing some Naruto What Ifs of his own. He is just getting into it. He does his videos a lot like Clockwork Highlander does, where there's not a lot of editing, but he is narrating, and his thought process is actually very cool. He's done some very funny scenarios. He actually has this one thing where I was going to say Goku, but Sasuke uses the 1,000 Years of Pain, which is really, really funny to me. 1,000 Years of Death, excuse me. So, big shout out to him. I'll probably try and remember to link one of his videos. I gotta remember Knutty Entertainment and Sheridan Road, so I will make a note of that. But what he asks is, what if the Zenkai boosts were applied in the original Dragon Ball retroactively? The problem with this is that most moments in the original Dragon Ball, when Goku loses a fight, he does some training or gains an outside boost through the Ultra Divine Water or training with Corn that kind of facilitates the same kind of boost that a Zenkai would. In fact, I'm pretty sure Lytro Stormit told me at one point that the boost from the Ultra Divine Water was like a 1.3, whereas a Zenkai boost is typically a 1.33 times boost. But to make this idea work, just for the sake of doing it, we'll say that all of Goku's canonical losses in Dragon Ball will still happen, and to do this, we will power up the enemies he has these canonical losses to. And every loss will put Goku in a state of being where he is capable of gaining a Zenkai boost afterwards. We start this in his battle with Yamcha. Instead of saying that Yamcha is around 9 or 9.5, let's say he's around 13, fighting a hungry and tired Goku. Yamcha is not being malicious, but Goku's tenacity causes Yamcha to keep putting him down again and again, until Goku's body is beaten to a pulp. Tired of this, Yamcha retreats, and Goku finally passes out. Scared for a friend, Bulma decides to rush him to a hospital, where they stay until he is healed. Because of this, there is no confrontation with the rabbit mob, and by the time Goku is healed up and the group get on the road again, they are captured by the Pilaf gang. Goku is at a power level of 13 right now. This makes him an even more powerful Uzaru. I'm not sure if he'd be able to break out of the prison walls with this small boost though. Also, with the boost, it means Goku gets stronger from training with Roshi, and quite possibly could defeat his old master unless Roshi fights a bit more sneakily, which I think he would do. The reason I'm not going to give him a Zenkai boost after this fight is because I don't think Goku took a huge amount of damage in this fight, at least in my opinion. He more was very tired in terms of stamina, not in terms of damage. Goku at this new power level of maybe, let's say, 28 to 32, gives the Red Ribbon Army hell, and grows in power due to the different battles he goes through, letting him adapt to different foes and grow in strength more. Around the time he's facing Mercenary Tao, I want to say that he's at a 50 to 55 range, and still loses. Climbing the tower, he's in the mid-70s at the time he arrives at the top. After training with Korin and after training with Korin, he is knocking on the door of the mid-150s. The army is defeated, and Goku begins to train for the next tournament. Because of this, both King Piccolo and Tambourine had to be powered up a lot for Goku to lose to either of them. Let's say that Tambourine is 200 in this timeline, and King Piccolo, as an old man, or an old Namekian in this case, is at 250. After healing from Tambourine, Goku is now around 252. Moving to King Piccolo, when young, let's say that he's around a 275, and still requires Goku to heal and drink the Ultra Divine Water, stacking a 1.33 times boost or a 1.3 times boost. Goku after King Piccolo is almost 450, not counting the 3 years of training he would do with Kami, meaning he could be even higher than he already was, which is way stronger than the start of Z Goku. Piccolo either trains harder to meet him or loses easily. Using the former, let's say that this Goku is around an 805 after training with Kami, and for the sake of them having a very, knock down, drag out, hard fought brawl, Piccolo is also at 805. After a long and arduous battle, Goku wins, but has earned himself another Zenkai boost, placing him at a grand total of 1070 at the start of Z, meaning Raditz is in deep, deep doo-doo if Piccolo also chips in. I know a lot of these levels were kind of inaccurate, but this is solely for fun, and I'm not really trying to put a huge amount of thought into these. I'm just trying to have fun with you guys and do some what ifs I usually wouldn't do. Super Savage 79 asks, what if Guru had wished for his youth? Well, he'd probably look a lot like Drum, but aside from this, I don't think he would just hand out the potential boost willy-nilly. And I've always subscribed to the idea that Nail had already had his potential unlocked. I've debunked the trained in the ancient ways statement from the dub, but for the sake of telling an interesting timeline or story, let's say that he has not had his potential unlocked and Guru does hand them out willy-nilly. So Nail, as well as the 3 canon warrior Namekians, will receive a potential unlock. I think in the overall boost for Gohan or Piccolo, I'm not sure which of them it was like 42 times or something like that. So if Nail gets that, he's around a 1.7 million. This means that any threat to the planet is taken out instantly, because Nail is a no-nonsense fighter. Frieza's soldiers and the monster himself, who cannot transform into his third form quick enough, are eradicated by the very serious and stoic Namekian warrior. The Z Warriors then have a very peaceful time collecting the Dragon Balls and making their wishes before leaving the planet peacefully. This in the long term spells disaster for the Z Fighters, because they lose a lot of power and do not have the ally of Vegeta, who would have been killed alongside Frieza's men by Nail. Goku likely wouldn't contract the heart virus because no Yardrat, don't at me, I just subscribe to that idea, and he would likely still commission a gravity chamber at some point and possibly move it to Mount Paozu using it to train, which could possibly cause Gohan or Piccolo, maybe both, to train with him inside of it, which if that did happen, that would gain them a lot of power. And over the next 4 years, because there was 1 year when Goku was on Yardrat, and then 3 years for the androids, over the next 4 years the androids would appear. And this power that Goku, Piccolo, and Gohan could have possibly gained by training in the gravity chamber is not enough for the androids. The Z Fighters begin to fall one by one, and a thought is had by Piccolo. He decides to gather the Dragon Balls and summons Nail onto Earth, requesting his help. Unable to sense the android's power, but able to sense Nail's, Piccolo is smart enough to tell him that he is not strong enough. Nail would then tell him about fusion, leading to a fusion between Kami and Piccolo, and afterwards, a fusion between Kamikolo and Nail, creating a warrior probably far stronger than Android 16, and probably very close around to, where First Form Cell was when he defeated 16, is what I'm trying to say. But the weakest Z Fighters, the weaker Z Fighters, of this timeline, go on to lose against the threats to come, as their powers have suffered far too much from Goku not attaining the Super Saiyan state, or not, getting the big Zenkai boost from the fight with Ginyu. All this really spells disaster in the long run. Moving on to a few My Hero What Ifs, because I know you guys will tear my head off if I don't do at least 2, or, 1 at least. The Different Gamer asks, what if Midoriya was a Saiyan? I do not like crossovers like this, especially because they pretty much take out all the stakes of a series. But again, that is what these podcasts are for. So here we go. Lots of people have done this, but instead of making it to where Deku's dad is a Saiyan, he's a half Saiyan or something, I'm just going to say that Deku has a quirk like Suyu, or the guy that's in Class B, where his quirk is Beast or something like that, where he has a mutant quirk. And basically, he has all the powers of the fictional characters from Akira Toriyama's manga, we'll say that those characters or that manga is canonical in this universe. He has all the powers of a Saiyan as well as their weaknesses. So he has a tail. If that tail is grabbed, he loses power. If he sees a full moon, he turns to Ozaru. If that tail is cut off, he loses that power. This would also give him a strong affinity for ki. He would also gain Zenkai boost from being on the brink of death and being healed from it. What else would he have? Very natural strength and fighting ability as well. Because of how quickly his quirk would allow this quirk would allow the user to grow in physical strength, Deku is not bullied. Instead, Bakugo and he are probably very good friends. Deku would probably also be a lot more ferocious and plain old just, not too timid. Because of this, he would likely move on to be a natural fighter and have a natural affinity for ki at some point. Goku was actually very weak for a baby Saiyan, so a power level of 2 at birth and then 10 at the age of 13 or 12, whichever he was, is pretty appalling. Deku could be, twice or even 5 times that, and likely already starting to mold ki a lot easier than Goku was. The sludge villain still attacks him and tries to take over his body, but in this timeline, Deku roars and a mouth blast disintegrates it. All Might does arrive, and he kind of laments that Deku could have killed the sludge villain, but it was assault and this was self-defense. All Might would say good job and leave with no real problem. Deku doesn't pursue him. He knows he can be a hero in this timeline. He goes on to train for the UA entrance exam and easily aces it, having gotten even stronger over those 10 months. All Might would likely find a successor for One for All in maybe Mirio Togata or Melissa Shield, but it would not matter. Deku in this timeline would continue to grow at a rate far too high for the villains or antagonists in this universe. The only person who could be an obstacle for him would be All for One or maybe someone like Eraserhead. But Deku's physical strength is a natural part of his body, not quirk-based, as Suyu's physical mutations are as well. If he weren't in school, this Deku would be the number 1 hero before he was even at the age of 18, and his power would continue to grow. And this is why I don't do crossovers. Mr. Patriot asks, what if All Might died against the original Nomu? And full disclosure, this one is interesting enough to me to warrant its own main series as well, where I go a lot more in depth with this and I'm a lot more invested in it. So that may very well come after I bring some of my hero stories to the point where, they are pretty much caught up to where the manga is right now. I'm not sure where the manga is going to end anyway. But aside from that, I believe that All Might would die from the exertion of defeating the Nomu instead of being right out killed by the Nomu. I just don't think the power scaling of that works. So we'll say that All Might used up the last dregs of One for All just to defeat this one Nomu. Afterwards, his body is burnt to a crisp, and so is the Nomu. It cannot regenerate from this. He's basically beat that completely out of it. I believe this Nomu could be, or if we do want to change the power scaling, we could maybe make this Nomu a lot like the Super Nomu that Endeavor fights along with Hawks way later in the series. Not to spoil stuff for you guys who haven't read the manga. I think All Might can definitely defeat him, but the extreme regeneration of that character and, a little other surprise about him pushes him to his limit. So we can do either of those. After losing All Might, Deku is devastated and likely falls into depression for a very long time. Then he receives a visit from a peculiar old man. He is short in stature, but has an intense vibe to him. Losing his former student, Gran Torino has been fully forced out of retirement and tells Deku exactly who he is. He explains that he'll be Deku's master from now on and has moved into Deku's town to better train Deku. The world now needs a new symbol of peace because chaos will be running through the streets at the moment. With this in mind, Gran Torino tells Deku that he either needs to get his ass in gear or give up One for All to the ninth holder. Unwilling to give up, I believe Deku smacks himself and decides to keep moving forward. With how dangerous the situation with the League of Villains has become, and ultimately eliminating the symbol of peace, thereby pretty much spreading chaos all throughout the world, Deku now has a goal to accomplish that is much more tangible, and his progress has to come a lot faster. So I think Gran Torino pretty much flat out tells Deku the concept of full counting, and the two begin to spar almost constantly, daily, pushing Deku's control of One for All to a new and more heightened state. I think Gran Torino could become a teacher at UA pretty much full time, and serve the same purpose as All Might pretty much did, but he would be very blatant in his pushing of Deku over most other students. With the loss of All Might and the world in the state it is, I think the sports festival would probably be canceled, leaving them with even more time to train one-on-one, and the internships would likely be decided in a more private and secured way. So maybe the heroes just come in and kind of watch the students just use their quirks in very like private settings. It wouldn't be too flashy or televised or anything like that. And because of this, Gran Torino probably takes Deku on as his intern as well, and the two continue to spar, improving his control and combat skills as well. Another change to this situation, or this timeline at least, is that Stain, angry at the death of All Might, would likely add the heads of the League of Villains to his hit list. I'm not saying he turns good, or anything like what happens in What If Stain trained Deku. I'm saying that Stain, along with taking out fake heroes, is now going to be gunning for the League of Villains as well. But, oh, excuse me, my bad, guys. And because of this, I don't think there's going to really be an incident in Hosu City. And if it did happen, I don't think it would happen the same way. The odds of him still running into Ingenu would be very, very low. So I think that Ida and his brother would be interning as well. And by the time the world begins to kind of come to a more calmer state in anticipation for the new hero rankings, as crime rises, Deku's full counting would likely be in the upper 20%. But again, I will leave this here for time constraints. I do have one more or two more what ifs, I think. No, one more what if to get through. So I will try and get through that right now. Finally, Icy for Alligator asks, what would my quirk be if I was in My Hero Academia? I have talked about this at one point. I've never really thought about what would happen if like I was in My Hero Academia, but I'm basically going to give the quirk, my fan-made quirk that I kind of thought of at this point, and I'm going to basically put myself in the world at my current age, because if I was in My Hero Academia, I probably would be a hero. It's a profession. It's one that utilizes a special ability, and you get to serve people and get paid for it. So I would definitely most likely be a hero in this situation, whereas when people say like, what would you do if you were in Dragon Ball? I probably wouldn't train. I'd probably be very lazy there. But being a hero seems like it would be a very good occupation for me. The quirk I have thought of is based off of Sun Eater from My Hero and kind of Kevin 11 from Ben 10 Alien Force, not the initial one where he was like the amalgamation of all Ben's aliens, but the quirk name is You Are What You Eat. Basically, I can eat any inorganic material, such as metals, rocks, concrete, steel, any type of thing like that, and my body basically becomes that material. From my skin to my muscle fibers to my organs, even to my internal like bodily fluids, all at the expense of some pretty hardcore bowel movements. But because of this, I also gained the tensile strength, the conductivity, and all the aspects of these individual materials. I was gonna say that again. I'm around 19. I'm finna be 19 very like in 2 weeks or so. Not even 2 weeks, I think. No, it's 2 weeks. So I would likely have graduated from whatever hero high school I went to at this point, and I could probably be maybe around the same graduating class as Hawks, which again a lot of you haven't like met yet in the series because he's mostly manga right now. The anime hasn't caught up to that yet. Or I could be like Kamui Wood's class, or maybe like a little younger than him, maybe just about to graduate from a hero high school. Either way, I probably would be, and I know it's pretty much a humble brag, but I think I wouldn't be too high, but not too low. Probably in the top 50 heroes, but I digress. Full disclosure, guys, I did see that somebody, and that was actually, Quentin Sands did give me a large number of Naruto What Ifs, and I'm very sorry, Quentin, I didn't get to those. Excuse me, I didn't mean to burp in the camera or the mic. I did want to get to some of these, but you commented a lot. From now on, try and comment one of these, and I will try and get to them. It's just because it was kind of overwhelming to read all of them, and I couldn't really choose too well. And yeah, guys, please do try and give me a mixture of what ifs to do. I know a lot of you might be here for one series or another, but I do want to do multiple series with these because I just get bored talking about one series over and over again. Most of you who are long-term subscribers do know this. I don't think I'm gonna like re-record this video or this podcast, even though I do have some mess ups in it, because I was listening to the second one. There are a bunch of like weird cuts in it and stuff like that where you can tell I was trying to edit little things out. So I'll probably leave this stuff in, even though it is kind of embarrassing for me. Either way, I do really appreciate you guys coming out to the podcast. My goal was to do 3 of these and see if one or all of them could get to 1,000 views. At the time of recording this one, which it'll be going up pretty late because I'm going out of town this week and I want to give you guys some content. The time of recording this one, the first one is only 3 days old and almost has 1,000 views on it. That is way more than I thought it would gain. So I do think this will be a mainstay series on the channel. You will be getting your 4th and 5th podcast, and the 5th will have a special guest on it as well. I think this is a very successful venture. I'm very, very glad I decided to do it. So yeah, guys, expect some more of these. These will not take over the channel by any means. I promise you. I will maintain my what ifs and my live streams or whatever else I've been doing. These will just be in addition to the channel. And trust me, when school starts back and I start to get, pretty much buried in my schoolwork, you will be very happy for these, because these will still give you some constant what if content. But anyway, I digress, guys. I have to start remembering to shout out my first and at the time only patron, Chase Bolden. He is in the newbie tier. If you guys would like to join him, it is only $1 to join the newbie tier, and there are there's a multitude of other rewards for pledging. It is by no means required. It is just something you can do if you really want to support the channel. Just liking videos, subscribing, hitting the notification bell is a huge thing you can do for me. And I'm so sorry. I don't mean to keep staggering. I'm trying to do this unscripted and very, very candidly. Sharing the videos, liking, rewatching them. If maybe you've seen this podcast and maybe you missed another podcast, go back and watch that podcast. That might help me as well. But yeah, guys, any amount of help is appreciated. As the Plus Ultra fam, you guys help me just by watching videos no matter what. But this will help me to make more and better content. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling, guys. Be sure to take care of yourselves, and as always, go beyond. Plus Ultra. See you guys next time, and I love you.